that is a big part of my life, is to show people that everyone has unlimited potential. If you get out of your comfort zone, that's where it starts.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Beyond Fluency podcast Conversation Club. Today I am joined by Arnold Beeks, who is an entrepreneur, a coach, a brain expert, and a man that is very well traveled. Arnold, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Let's start with talking about the elephant in the room. At the moment, you are on the call from Paraguay. That's right, yeah?
Yeah, but there are no elephants here.
All right, okay, that's good. Yeah. So you've lived in multiple countries now.
Yes, correct.
Tell me about that experience.
It's super. I would recommend it to everybody. Yeah, so
Right.
it's, the idea to live in another country started many, many years ago, something like 30 years ago. When I worked in the corporate environment, I had international responsibilities, European wide, at some point in time, globally. And in those days, I used to travel a lot, meaning within Europe, you would get at 7 in the morning on a plane to Munich, Geneva, London. And then in the evening at 7, I would go back home again. So that was very, well, hectic because, and the next day the same, and the next day the same. Yeah? And then I got worldwide responsibilities where I was approximately 1 week each month in the US. And that's where I got the idea is like, it's nice to, I loved it to go to other countries, other cultures, other experiences, but it was mainly like playing a taxi, a hotel, a meeting room, and then reversed. So I was like, I would like to live in another country. And I also had holidays basically all over the world, and I love to travel. So I was like, nah, living somewhere else must be different. Well, for many reasons outside of my own, it didn't happen then, but it was 10 years ago. It happened out of a negative influence, I would say. I was totally out of money, and I lived in the Netherlands then, and I was like, I got to the social security and say, hey guys, I got no more money. Can I please get some money for the social benefits? Well, after a lot of things, they said no. And I said, why not? The reason was I still had some money in a retirement fund, which I had set up myself. And I said, well, I'm not of the retirement age, so why am I to get the money out of that fund? The answer was, you have to do it. You won't get any money from us. That
Right.
made me totally pissed off. And I was like, yeah, so because if you take money out of your retirement fund before your retirement age, that means you get a penalty and you get the daily value, which is something like half of the end value. So not a nice situation, but I'm like, I'm done with the Netherlands. Now I'm going to take that money. I'm gone. It's like, I'm gone. Yeah? So that is when I ended up in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City, where I was a few months. And then I'm like, I don't like it here. Well, the people and the food and everything was all just fine, but business and especially like the startup scene and everything was at really, really very low levels. I had to operate at 10-15% of my capabilities. That's not nice. But especially the main reason was I couldn't get any oxygen
Okay.
because Ho Chi Minh City is a city of 12 million people and 13 million scooters.
Right.
So incredibly polluted, incredibly noisy, and this was 10, 11 years ago, maybe now, but I guess in the whole city they didn't have more than 100 trees. So I was like, I want some fresh air because this is really not nice. So long story short, I moved to Budapest in Hungary, which I loved. I really liked it there. Beautiful city, beautiful architecture, nice international and national community. I really, really liked it there. But after a year, I had to go back to take care of my mother. She got dementia and Parkinson's. So I ended up taking care of her for 8 years. So that means I was back in the Netherlands and I lived with my mother. She
Hmm.
passed away a few years ago. Then I had to settle the inheritance, which seems like, well, it's a big thing. No, it was basically selling a house which nobody wanted to buy. But then I again had I had a positive choice. Like, I want to go back to Eastern Europe, not to Hungary again, because I kind of know that. So I ended up going to Romania. So that's where I would spend the last 2 years. And now I'm like in South America in Paraguay. I'm just 2 months here,
Hmm.
and so far it looks very, very good. So I'm doing what I wanted to do many, many years ago, is to get that experience of living in a total other culture and environment.
Nice. Okay. What do you look for when you're looking for your next place to live, to spend an extended period of time in?
Cost of living,
Okay.
climate. Well, hopefully some people would speak a little bit of English, but also like a place where I never been. So I'm well, through not so nice experiences, I'm pretty comfortable in being uncomfortable. So, for instance, I would say all the places, all the countries where I went to, I knew nobody. I'd never been there. I didn't speak the language. I had no friends. Yeah, so it's really everything is totally new.
Right. How do you, because I mean, from my perspective, that sounds like something that's quite scary and incredibly challenging. You know, having no network, no job, no language, no ideas about the place or the culture. That really is like dropping yourself in at the deep end.
Yeah.
How do you manage overcoming those fears and putting yourself in that situation?
Well, it's like I just said, is like, unfortunately I'm used to being uncomfortable. So, like, dealing with newness, dealing with the unexpected, dealing with the unknown is not something which just pops up right now in moving into another country. That's been basically part of all my life. And also my work. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but my main focus is on two things: innovation and coaching/training. Innovation is especially, you got to work on something which doesn't exist. You got to work on something where you want organizations, people to change, but essentially nobody wants to change, so they don't like you. Or they well, now maybe it's too strong to say they don't like you, but it's like they say in your face that they're going to do that, and the moment you get out of the door, they do something else. And
Right.
something else is just repeating what they always did. And so that is what the work environment for me for most of my life. So I'm used to dealing with that. How shall I do this? How shall I work this out? Whatever. And you have to explain over and over and over again because they have no clue what it is. Yeah, so that is training in being comfortable in being uncomfortable. That helps a lot. It is like most people, what I say in a very simple way, starting with a blank sheet of paper, because that is what innovation is about. They're like, Arnold, yeah, or in the business, like, Arnold, we have a problem. We don't know how to do this. Maybe you can help. Okay. What do you have? Well, nothing. It's like, for me, the greatest joy is starting with a blank slate of paper, with a clean slate, nothing. That most people, that's when their fear goes through the roof. And
Right.
I'm like, this is fun.
Okay. Right. So you have the mindset of curiosity and interest when it comes to a road that hasn't been traveled yet.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, I see. All right. Woo! It is hot out there. It's so hot that it is making your brain forget to push the like and subscribe buttons. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for us, that would be amazing. Thanks. You mentioned that through your work and life experience, this helps you train being comfortable, being uncomfortable. For someone who they haven't been given those opportunities, how could they train themselves to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable?
First, when I respond to what you just said, I think everybody in their life has got that opportunity in
Okay.
one way or another, small or big, but they let it pass because it's too frightening. Mm.
Okay, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's like with everything in life, you got to start small. Curiosity, you very well explained it. Yes, you need to be very, very curious. Well, I would highly recommend that to everyone. But as children, we're not allowed to be curious. If you continue asking to your parents or your teachers, why is that? And why is the sky blue? And why do I need to know this? And why do parents get irritated? Teachers get irritated. So very soon you learn not to ask why anymore because that gets you in a bad situation. So already from a young age, curiosity is being suppressed. Whereas everybody's curious. It's a natural part of being human. Actually, like I said, I just arrived here recently. I'm in Paraguay. People here are not black, but they're a little bit colored. So when I walk on the street, they see I'm a foreigner. I'm a little bit taller than the guys, and I'm pretty white. I get a lot of people asking me, and literally saying, well, in Spanish word is the same as in English. I'm curious, why are you here? What are you doing here? So I cannot escape. Yeah, so it's like people want to know. But it's like start with small things. Go to a bookshop and buy a magazine about a topic which you know nothing about. Listen to some, if you always into pop music, listen to classical music. If you want to do, if you've been doing sports and you're getting bored and like, try another sport. Yeah, so for your meal tonight, add a new ingredient. Or if you go always in a certain way you drive to your work, take another route. So curiosity doesn't have to be big and huge things, but you have to train yourself by allowing yourself, because inherently everybody's curious,
Mm.
by allowing yourself, hey, Arnold, hey, Liam, it's okay to be curious. It's okay to look at new topics. And that is something which, well, builds upon, and then you're like, hey, my life gets really, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. We often talk about following curiosity with language. It's a great way to learn new things about what you already know, but looking at it from a different perspective because of the change of language. So we often recommend people follow your curiosity with the subjects that you already know about, but maybe you have unanswered questions even in your native language. Pull on that thread, see where it goes, see where the language goes. When you find new words, use a dictionary, see what words connect with that word, like what are synonyms that you can use. So just start asking questions, because when we start asking questions, there's the human need to want to answer those questions. And so you end up retaining that information, whether it's vocabulary or information about a particular subject. So I think it stays with you for longer. You have more of an emotional attachment to it.
I think the emotional thing is the most important part, and especially the part, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be
Right.
afraid to look stupid. Don't be. I just started a week ago for some Spanish lessons, but like I cannot talk any sentence because I knew two words but not three. So it's like I still try. I don't care. I don't care whether I look like a fool because, well, they can see I'm a foreigner anyway,
Right.
and people appreciate if you try, and people appreciate. I've already had, like I said, I'm a short-term man, but I had so many people that like, where are you from? I'm from all. What are you doing here? Why are you here? Most of these people have never traveled outside of Paraguay. Yeah, so it's like, so they're totally confused when they see me. And by the way, I'm not 25 anymore. So it's like what's this old guy doing here?
Mm.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he doesn't speak the language. He doesn't know. Are you work for working? No, I'm living here. What? So it's like by doing so, you're a mirror to other people because they're like, I would like to do that. I would like to have that experience. And that's a nice thing because, well, that is a big part of my life is to show people that everyone has unlimited potential. But in order to get there or grasp, well, you never grasp it because unlimited, so there's no end. But if you get out of your comfort zone, that's where it starts. Before here, Paraguay, I lived in Romania. I could have easily stayed there. Yeah, my landlord liked me or whatever, and everything. I knew my way around and how to do things. But I'm like, time to move on, get out of Europe. So it's like it would have been much easier to stay. I tell you, it's pretty stressful to get it. Like, hey, I got to find an apartment because staying in Airbnb sounds nice, but it costs a fortune. So all of these things, it's not easy. I get into this apartment. There was no Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
It's like I cannot pick up the phone and call the local internet provider and say, "Hey, can you install some things in Spanish?" I cannot tell that. How to deal with that? So immediately it's just like I will work it out. So it's like, but it's not easy. I'm not saying that it's easy, but yeah, and I know what I'm doing is not for everyone. But like I say, tonight with dinner, eat one different ingredient. Listen to one new song on the radio or on your music app, whatever. Yeah, so it's like anybody can do that. Do it more and more. You're like, oh, okay. You start to get to know yourself because you're like, I like this and I don't like this. Hey, I learned something about myself. Let me give a very simple example and not about leaving everything behind and go and live in another country. I've done in my life 13, 14 different sports. Now, unfortunately, I can hardly do any sport because I had a very severe car crash. But before that, so it was before that time, but the most of my time, for 35 years, I played field hockey since I was 11 years old. And at some point in time, I'm like, yeah, I cannot keep on playing this in my old age. I want to try golf because golf you can play until your old age. In the Netherlands, it's very expensive. So I'm like, I want to try. So what I did, I booked a weekend somewhere in a hotel where they taught you the basic principles of golf. That's where I found out there's like, that's nice. I would love to do that. I would have never known where I would like it or not. So it helped me to create clarity and be like, okay, I'm not going to play hockey for the rest of my life. At some point in time, I will switch to golf. But the same thing, and I'm coaching people for more than 50 years, literally.
Mm.
And then people, when they, what do you want to do? Yeah, well, yeah, I want to have money. Then I can buy my own horse. I can have a horse, my own horse, and it's in the stable somewhere. I can take care of the horse. I can go riding on my horse. I'd love to do that. Okay, I understand. Have you ever ridden a horse? Why don't you try? Because, well, I learned to ride a horse when I was in my 30s. It's different when you learn to ride a horse when you're 5 years old. It's like, and riding a horse is quite frightening and it's not easy. You have to try it. That's the thing with curiosity. Like I said, there's a connection with, well, failing is not failing, is learning. Oh, it's exciting using, or like I know many people with horse riding, like, bloody hell, it's very difficult. It's really frightening because a horse of 1,000 kilos, you cannot hold it if it doesn't want. That's why I say you try different things. If you don't try, you don't know. If I would not have tried to live in Vietnam and Ho Chi Minh City, I would still like, maybe I should go to Asia and live there. No, try it. But you can always change and say, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. So by doing so, by following you learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah. With language, we take the structured pathway and therefore we're presented with language that we should know. We don't often go off the track and start learning things that interest us. At some point in time, you get bored of the standard protocols, the language about subjects that you're not necessarily interested in. So it's good advice, try out different things, find what you like to learn about, and then take a deeper dive once you're there and follow that curiosity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hello. Hope you're enjoying the conversation. If you haven't already, please hit the like and the subscribe button, as well as the bell icon to get updated every time we put up a new.
I would like to ask you, Arnold, about your work as an expert on the brain and brain fitness, particularly. What can you tell us about your expertise in this area?
Well, starting with the fact that most of what we think we know about the brain is incorrect. Why am I saying that? We think the brain and then we point to our head, right? We have a skull, and under there's something which really looks like a walnut, a big walnut, which is
Right.
inside of your skull. And that's the brain, and that's the operating room where everything happens. There's a lot what's happening there, absolutely. But basically, your brain is a processor of information. It's a decoder of information. It processes information from outside of the brain. That's number one. Because so far, nobody, and I'm talking about psychologists, neuroscientists, brain surgeons, can point is like, in this part of your brain, that's where your thoughts are. And here is where your emotions are. And this is the way how to control it. No, nobody knows that. That's actually my main drive, because I'm interested in. Let me diverge a little bit. I'll get back to your thing. Is like everything is like an iceberg. We only see 9/10 of the iceberg is below the water level. We don't see it, but 1/10 is above. So what in a human being, what is below the sea level? Yeah, it's your thoughts and emotions. I don't know what you're thinking right now or what you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling right now.
Well, if you did, you'd be making a lot of money.
Absolutely. But that is with everything the case. So it's like I get interested in like, how does it work? What are thoughts? What are emotions and how does it work? So that's how I get interested in that. And that's where I see is that thoughts and emotions, well, they're being processed here, but they don't originate there. That's one thing. The other thing is we think we have one brain. It's incorrect. We actually have three brains. We have a heart brain. We have a gut brain. And this is not what I'm making up. It's scientifically proven, but nobody talks about these things. And what is crucial is what they call coherence. Coherence means that there's harmony between your head, heart, and your gut. Because your gut is like courage. It's your identity. It's who you are. And your heart really knows. Your heart is more like you should go this direction. And then your head brain starts to figure out how to do it. So already this brain thing is much, much bigger than we think. Because me included, I didn't know I had a heart brain. I didn't know how to listen to, well, which is the most important, is your heart brain. It's much more important than your head brain, but it actually talks to you. It gives you messages all the time because we didn't know it was there. We didn't notice it. And even if I now tell you it's there, most likely it will say something to you, but you will ignore it or you will suppress it because you're like, that is the only thing which counts. It already starts right from the get-go. It looked like you had a simple question like, okay, Arnold, how do you get interest in the brain? But it's much, much more. It's already starting to understand that we have three brains and that they, if you are in good position, that they are in harmony with each other.
Right. Okay. Now, well, this is very interesting to me because I studied Chinese medicine at university, and the brain as an organ on its own has a function. But as you were saying, the ruler, the decision maker of the Chinese medicine system is the heart. The heart is referred to as the emperor, and it has a direct connection with what is known as the small intestine. And the small intestine is an emotional processor, and it also has the capacity for in the moment decision making. So these two systems, completely unrelated to the Western idea of the brain, are actually the ones that are mostly in charge of that side of things for us. So I completely agree. I think that as humans, we're far more complex than just sticking to one definition of how things work.
Totally agree, Liam. It's like, let me backtrack a little bit. When I worked in the corporate environment, I worked in the service business. Service business is not like this is a product. I can sell you the glass. I can even sell you the water or whatever. It's material. It's a product. But service is intangible. Service means if it gets broken, I can call you and someone comes and fix it. So I worked in the service business. By its definition, is already dealing with the invisible. It's like an insurance. or something like that. Yeah. That's where I notice is like, it's the things which you can't see, those have a huge, huge impact. Yeah. And then coming back to your examples and everything is like, if I don't know I have three brains because nobody tells me and I was not born in China or in a family with that, like I I don't know how to use it. Actually, since a few years ago when I read about the heart brain, well, number one, I had no effing clue that I had it, but then number like, how do I use it? How do I listen to it? What do I do? So I'm literally, I did this morning again, practices to learn to listen to my heart. So, well, talking about language is like practicing doing these things because it's not like, ah, Arnold told me I have a heart brain. Now I know how to use it. Well, you don't. You gotta try, you gotta use it, you gotta apply it, and whatever. That comes to bring is that I would say most of the stuff which they teach us is the very limited materialistic view of our reality of who we are as human beings. And I'm responding to what you said is like, oh, the human is far more complex than we thought it was. Yes, it is. And what they are telling you is not true. It doesn't work like that. That's why so many people are frustrated or, like I said, have mental health problems, have physical health problems. It's 80% of the population. So it's like, because the manual which they gave us is wrong.
Right. But they don't want to change the manual.
No, because they want us to be conformistic robots. And that's working pretty fine for that. And
Yeah.
what I'm doing is like, most of the stuff is a big lie. And that was, I didn't know that either. And it like, but I tried so many things, and up to the point that I was totally frustrated with myself. And, Arnold, you're not stupid, but this is not working. This is not working. This is not working. This is not working. And like, it's a lie. A lot of these things are not true. And then when you start to read, that's when I first started reading like self-help type of books, personal development, growth. Like, there's none of these books which tell you how your thoughts work or how your emotions work. A little bit, but not something which is useful. So then I decided, let's go to neuroscience, because neuroscience is about the brain and everything and your internal stuff. I studied a lot. No answer. Now I'm into, well, which is, let's call it, well, you can call it metaphysics, but it's just all around consciousness and everything, basically outside of the body, which has the biggest influence on us. Like you just beautifully said, like the Chinese thing is like your heart and your gut have a much more powerful influence with it. But they don't tell you that in self-help. They don't tell you that in psychology. They don't tell you that in neuroscience.
It's not quantifiable.
Well, it's not materialistic. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So, but if it's not materialistic, it doesn't mean it's not there.
Remember to leave your key takeaways in the comment section below, and in that way we can get the conversation going. Thank you. You mentioned unlimited potential earlier. Can you go into more detail about the subject of unlimited potential? How do we begin to realize that potential?
Okay, I'm going to start at the opposite. The opposite, I have yet to meet someone in my lifetime who doesn't have the feeling that they are not good enough.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone has that feeling. Some of them, like myself, I was a guy who had it very strongly because that's how I grew up. And my father always criticized us. I always had the feeling I was not good enough. It's still part of me, although I put in a lot of work to get rid of it. But it's like, that's what everyone, yeah, whether I talk to someone of 15 years old, 30 years old, or 80 years old, they all have that feeling. That is a way of controlling people, because if I tell you, Liam, you're not good enough, you're like, well, I better do what Arnold says because otherwise I have a problem. So it's based on conformity, and it's based on meeting expectations of other people. One step further, it's about living someone else's life and not your own life. So that feeling of not good enough is very deeply ingrained in everyone. So when you start following your curiosity, when you start getting new experiences, you're like, maybe 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 is like, that's a nice experience. I didn't know I liked classical music. I didn't know I liked playing golf. I didn't know. You come to things like, hi, I read a difficult book about traditional Chinese medicine. I find it really interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. That's basically true with any topic. I would say, if you are interested, if you are motivated, if you're inspired, you can learn basically anything. And then you're like, I didn't know I could do that. I can do that. When I vividly remember, as one of my first coaches, it was 25 years ago, when I was in a corporate thing where they need to lay off all the people. I was one of them, and then you get a coach to help you. Which is the first time I ever had a coach. This is 26 years ago. And he was talking about spirituality. Well, that's a word we never use in the corporate world. Yeah, so for me, it's like, what's that? And he was talking about things, and I'm like, sounds interesting. Can you recommend a book or something I need to do? So I find it really interesting. Started reading different books. 26 years ago, it was not like go to YouTube because it didn't exist then. But it's like, there were books, other sources. I did go to workshops, went to several spiritual organizations, became aligned with one of them. To make a long story short, after a few years, I was a spiritual teacher. I traveled all over the world, and I was one of their initiatives of taking around the environmental stuff in that we're talking about an organization more than 1 million students. I was one of their worldwide team. I gave classes. I conducted meditations for a couple of hundred folks in India. If you would have said a few years ago, like, Arnold, you will be a spiritual teacher and you will be doing these things, I would say you're totally bonkers. That's I don't even know what it is. So it's like, again, just try, just be curious, just follow, and then you're like, I can do that.
Sounds simple.
It is really. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. The moment you're interested, the moment you're motivated, you are, not because I say, Liam, you got to do that, but you have your inner drive, your inner motivation. You're like, I am good enough. I can do these things.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is a very unique thing about modern society, is that we have so many people in the world living with the idea that they're not good enough and they'll be happy when something happens. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I get a pay rise. I'll be happy when I get married. And we keep moving the goalposts every time we hit a goal and realize that we're not happy. And it is deeply rooted in this idea of not feeling good enough. And it's a real challenge, particularly, I think, for people who are living, working, experiencing a life in a second language, because you're not reflecting who you are to the best of your ability.
I tend to look at it in a different perspective. The different perspective is what we have been taught, and that's by our upbringing, by our education system, by movies, by media, is like you said, you have to be, you can only be happy when you get married, when you have a baby, when you get promotion, when you become a millionaire, whatever. That's not true, because most of those things will never happen in your life. And the moment they happen, as you just said, it's like, I thought I would be happy, but I'm not. Or your happiness fades away very quickly. So it's just not true. It's like the small things in everyday life, being grateful for small things, being kind to other people, just noticing the beautiful green trees and whatever. Like, I developed a habit years ago when early in the morning, I used to go for a run. I cannot run anymore because of my accident, but now I walk. I'm already happy that I can walk. Well, most people is normal, but for me, it's like, it's not normal. It's like, I'm really happy that I'm able to walk every morning. Well, if you go at the same time, sooner or later, you see the same people. People walking their dog, people going to the railway station to go to their work, people putting the bin outside, whatever. So if I see people, I greet them. I say, good morning, people. Well, in the Netherlands, it takes months before they finally respond. But over here, they immediately respond. They're like, hey, is someone saying? And now they say, oh, buen dia, ¿qué tal? And I'm like, what's that? Yes, I was like, and the people are really nice. I saw it, people, garbage truck collectors. Yeah, so you get the garbage truck at the back of these guys, you get the thing. And I saw them a couple of times. I saw them, like, I wave. because I see them and I know they see me because, again, I'm white. I'm a little bit taller than the guys here. So I wave. After 2 times, one of these guys, he jumps out of the car. He runs to me, and I'm like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls out his glove, and he gives me a high five. And this morning, I mean, there was the garbage truck, but there was not this guy. I thought, no, this is another guy. I don't know where. But he started talking to me as well. And I'm like, oh, this was the other guy. So these guys already know me. But this is a beautiful way of starting the day. I've got a couple of garbage truck collectors who already like me, who smile when they see me. I didn't get married. I didn't get my first million on the bank, whatever it is. Like, no, but I gave people the feeling that they matter, that I literally see them, that I
Right.
literally hear them. I made their day, and it makes my day. So I would like people to see is like, look at these small things. Just be kind to other people.
Do you have any resources, books, articles, videos that you could share with our audience to help them create this mindset?
Absolutely. On my website, it's called brainathletes.club, plural, brainathletes.club. There's a whole tab around videos. I've done by now close to 100 interviews. There are many, many different interviews going in a little bit of a different direction. So I shared a lot of them on the website. I read a couple of books. Yes, they are also there. There is a community on school. There's a link on my website where you can connect. There are resources for free. So, and still, there's a link to my calendar. So it's not immediately paid. So it's like, hey, I've seen the stuff on your website. I've looked at it. I still have some questions or something. Be free. Book a meeting with me.
Fantastic. Links to all of those will be in the show notes for you guys. Well, Arnold, thank you so much for the conversation today. It's really been nice to think a bit deeper about curiosity and how our brains work. Would you like to share any final thoughts with the audience before we finish?
Yes, there are 3 things I like to share with people. One is be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to other people. Second one is be imaginative. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to figure out how to build a new cathedral. No, something about your food this evening. And the other one is like, be a leader. We're all leaders. It's just ignored, and people don't care about it because there are other leaders who want you to be a leader and they don't want you to be the leader. But you're a leader over yourself. You're a leader over your own life, maybe over your family, maybe of your community, of your city, of your country. It's all inside of you. And those are the things in which we can differentiate from artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Be kind, be imaginative, be a leader.
Yes.
A great way and a great thought to finish off with today. Arnold, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time for the Conversation Club.